Good morning and hallelujah, Christ is risen. Don't worry, I haven't said the right thing, so you can respond however you want. But mainly, take your seats. That's wonderful. It's great to be with you all on this Easter morning. My name is Tom. I'm a curate here at Ascension, and it's super to see all of you who are here, and also wonderful to see on the live stream, on the live chat, all of you who have been joining in with your contributions so far this morning. Drop in your names so that we all know who we're worshipping together with. Now, something has already happened here this morning. I don't know if you've noticed any clues, something that might be going on. Well, at the Bubble Church service this morning, we have had the first Easter Sunday morning story recreated for us by the puppets. And so I think we need to interview the puppets to find out what happened. And I don't know if we've still got any of the puppets here now. I don't know, is Mary still with us? Oh, there is Mary. So let's find out how the story began that first Easter Sunday morning. Can you tell us, Mary? You were shocked? The stone had moved. Oh, thank you, Mary. I think we need to hear the account that John journaled in the Bible for us. So let's hear this.
Early on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb. It was still dark. Mary saw that the large stone that had been moved away from the tomb. So Mary ran to Simon Peter and the other follower, the one Jesus loved. Mary said, "They've taken the Lord out of the tomb. We don't know where they've put him."
The stone had rolled away. That should not happen. Death is the final word. Once the stone rolls into place, down the slight gradient, that huge stone, that is the end. Sealed. Finished. But for Mary, the shock came that that wasn't the case. That vast stone, the thing that seemed so solid and final, had shifted. On that first Easter morning, the foundation shifted. Everything up until then had been shaky ground. But the stone was laid that morning that declared that a new world order was coming into being. The shock of a transformation. But did you hear? Mary immediately ran to find others. She didn't know what to make of this. Who was it that she went to see? Anyone remember? Peter and John. You're doing well at not shouting out. Thank you for that. I wonder if we've got Peter with us. Oh, there is Peter still with us. So Peter, can you tell us what happened next? You ran, but John's faster, is he? So he got there first. Oh, and the clothes, the grave clothes, the cloths. Let's hear what John wrote about it.
So Peter and the other follower started for the tomb. They were both running, but the other follower ran faster than Peter, so the other follower reached the tomb first. He bent down and looked in. He saw the strips of linen cloth lying there, but he did not go in. Then, following him, came Simon Peter. He went into the tomb and saw the strips of linen lying there. He also saw the cloth that had been around Jesus' head. The cloth was folded up and laid in a different place from the strips of linen. Then the other follower, who had reached the tomb first, also went in. He saw and believed. These followers did not yet understand from the scriptures that Jesus must rise from death. Then the followers went back home.
I love that detail about the running. There's no reason why we need to know that, except that it actually happened. That Easter morning, these two had a race, and John was faster. John doesn't name himself in his own account, but he likes to just slip it in there that he got there first. This actually happened. If the resurrection of Jesus did not happen, then the church has no foundation. But the story is true. And what did they discover when they got there? John has recorded some really fascinating detail about the grave cloths. More than a year ago now, we had a funeral here for a lady called Vanessa. She loved butterflies, and as we were setting up this scene, I noticed that one of the butterflies from her funeral was still here. Her sister had brought these butterflies and put them in various places, and this one has stayed with us. There's a wonderful description of those grave cloths that were just there as they'd been, apart from the head cloth that was folded up. The others were there, just collapsed. We heard a few weeks ago the story of Lazarus being brought back from the dead, and he climbed out, Jesus' words, came out of the tomb, and the clothes were still wrapped around him, and he needed help because he had been called back from the dead. He hadn't transformed yet. Jesus had gone beyond death. Just like the caterpillar wraps up in a chrysalis and then sheds that shell and emerges into something wonderful and new, that morning, Jesus emerged, the first of the whole new creation. He had transformed what it means to be alive. He had defeated death, gone through death, and the grave clothes could not hold him any longer. There were others at the scene that morning. I wonder if the angels are still with us. Oh, they are. The angels have stuck around. Angels, can you tell us what happened?
He has risen. He has risen. He has risen. Jesus is alive.
Hey, hallelujah. Jesus had been crucified between two robbers, but his body was guarded between two angels of heaven. And I don't know what the personality is of angels, but I wonder if they were so excited that they could hardly contain it. They got to be there that morning. They were there, sat next to the Lord of history as he defeated death. Oh! But the people don't know it yet, so we've got to just hold it in a bit longer. This is amazing. This is what we have been waiting for, and now it's come to pass. Oh, here comes Mary. She doesn't know. Keep it in. Keep it in. And as Mary came, they noticed. Why are you crying? Let's hear the story from John.
Mary stood outside the tomb, crying. While she was still crying, she bent down and looked inside the tomb. She saw two angels dressed in white. They were sitting where Jesus' body had been, one at the head and one at the feet. They asked her, "Woman, why are you crying?" Mary answered, "They've taken away my Lord. I don't know where they've put him."
From the perspective of heaven, tears were totally incongruous with that moment. This was the turning point in human history, the beginning of a whole new world order. Of all the places in the world, of all the times where tears have been so appropriate, this was not the one. But Mary didn't know that yet, did she? Let's hear from Mary again to see what happened then. Mary? Are you still with it? Oh, hello, Mary. So what happened? You saw the gardener. Oh, you thought it was the gardener. The question again, let's hear it from John's narrative.
Mary turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus asked her, "Woman, why are you crying? Whom are you looking for?" Mary thought he was the gardener, so she said to him, "Did you take him away, sir? Tell me where you put him, and I will get him." Jesus said to her, "Mary." Mary turned towards Jesus and said in the Jewish language, "Rabboni." This means teacher.
That question again, Mary, why the tears? But this time it wasn't the incredulity of the moment. It was the tears of the Master, the one who loved Mary so much. He knew why the tears were there. He had traveled with her in her restoration from a crazed mind with demon possession, and he had seen her come to new expressions of life, but knew that in this moment that all seemed like it was fading away, like she had lost it. And he loves her. And so he wants it to come out. Why the tears? Let it out. Let your grief spill out, because I care for you. But I don't want to leave you there. Jesus had one word for Mary. The Word who had been spoken into human flesh, who was now recreating the world, only needed to say one word for her. Do you know what that word was? He said, Mary. Well, I never. He spoke the word Mary, and her life was totally transformed. And Frank and Sue here on the front have felt the force of that transformation. Mary's life was never going to be the same again. That one word of identity. Jesus knew her and loved her, and now she knew it. He knew her. He spoke her name. It was the Master, the teacher, the one who we thought was lost. And there he is. Mary fell at Jesus' feet. She wanted to cling on. This was astounding. And so we're going to join her there, holding on through an act of communion. We're now going to share communion together, and Marcus is going to lead us. But to help us prepare, finish with Mary at Jesus' feet. I wonder if Mary's still here to be able to tell us the last bit of that morning story. Mary, are you still around? Might be that you've stuck around just long enough. Can you tell us? Jesus said, go. Wow, Mary had been transformed with that one word. But what about everyone else? They were all still stuck with the dead body in the grave. They were still stuck with the expectation that the stone was the final point, rather than becoming the foundation of everything new. Mary had to go and tell them. And that's where we are as well. We've been allowed to hear the story We've been invited into the resurrection of Jesus, his new world order, his new way of life. And now he wants us to go and tell people, because there's still lots of people who are stuck where death is the final thing. And new life is an invitation for everybody. So we're going to just hear a bit about how that new life has been being spoken in our midst the last few months. Marcus, back to you.
Thanks, Tom. So we, over the last 6 months,